I want to talk about making concessions, or maybe a better word is trade-offs, or you're trying to find some sort of a compromise. You're compromising, right? And instead of removing unhealthy foods, think about ways to add healthy foods. So instead of worrying about cutting all these things out, think about pushing more vegetables into your meals. And perhaps that in itself will push out the things that you don't want. But the way our brain works is actually better to think about what we're adding in, what we're gaining, as opposed to what we're losing. Same thing goes for actions and habits. Instead of trying to get rid of a negative habit, instead try to add in a positive habit. Maybe you don't want to drink alcohol. Maybe you rather just think about after dinner, go for a walk instead of having an after dinner drink. Unhealthy foods, instead of having some of the chips that you have with your meal, think about having extra vegetables with that meal. And these options to make concessions or trade-off help to make your brain think that you're gaining versus losing, because we're hardwired to work towards rewards, and rewards is what we're gaining, not what we're losing. So if we can somehow reframe what we're doing in terms of gains versus losses, your body, your brain is not going to rebel in any way. So you want to focus on what you're gaining versus what you're losing, so that we're working with our brain's wiring as opposed to against it. So here's some options that you can make in terms of concessions, for example. If you use the alcohol example before, we want to cut out alcohol, right? Instead of saying you can never have alcohol again, why don't we consider, okay, we can have alcohol only if we're having a meal that has all protein and vegetables. Like we're having a meal that works well with our goal, and in this case, we're allowing ourselves to have a glass of wine. That way, it's not this all or nothing approach, right? Whereas someone's like, okay, I'm having the wine, might as well have the burger too. You don't want to get caught in thinking that way, right? And where it comes to, for example, you're watching TV, you're watching your favorite Netflix show, right? And you find yourself watching episode, and you want to have another episode, but you really haven't worked out that day. Perhaps the concession is, okay, I will watch another episode, but first I'm going to go for my evening walk. Or maybe while I'm watching this particular episode, I'm going to walk slowly on the treadmill. You're trading off. You're not losing out in any way. You're actually benefiting in both ways. So the more you tell yourself you can't do something, the more likely it creates this scenario where you crave doing that item. So instead, work with your brain's wiring. Work with adding things in rather than thinking about taking things out. And oftentimes, adding things in will crowd out the things that don't work. And in the backwards ways, it's going to help. But your brain never thought about losing anything in that case. It thought about only gaining.